Have you ever heard Aesop's fable about the competition between the sun and the wind? Well, if you haven't, this is how it goes. The sun and the wind both compete to take a man's coat off. After doing his best to blow the man's coat off, the wind gives up. Because no matter how hard the wind blew, the man just clutched his coat even tighter. The calm sun takes his turn and simply shines down, and the man voluntarily takes the coat off. This fable is meant to show readers that sometimes calm cooperation brings about positive results rather than forceful aggression. This story influenced the name of a policy in Korea, put forth by a man by the name of Dae Jung. Dae Jung had a vision of bringing democracy to South Korea. His policy of peace and positive interaction became known as the Sunshine Policy. The average person did not have a say or a vote in how they were ruled. Dae Jung chose to change that, despite what consequences may come to him or his family. He also wanted to improve relations with North Korea. He felt that force and negativity were not necessary to bring about positive change. The Sunshine's policy's main idea was peace through cooperation and negotiation. Dae Jung's ideas were not always met with open arms. He had to endure many hardships. He was kidnapped, imprisoned, and tortured. He almost lost his life in a suspicious automobile accident during the 1971 presidential campaign. In August of 1973, during a self-imposed exile and a stay in Japan following a trip to the United States, and because of his criticism of President Park's Yushin program, Kim was abducted from his Tokyo hotel by operatives of the Korean Central Intelligence Agency, KCIA. Kim said that he was twice threatened on board the ship that smuggled him back to Korea. This incident focused world attention on Kim's case. This was all because of his beliefs that South and North Korea could find a way to live peacefully. He was not able to be in politics, and he was sentenced to prison in the year of 1976 because he participated in the proclamation of an anti-government manifesto and sentenced for 5 years in prison. He was captured by the communists during the Korean War and escaped from Mokpo prison moments before he was to be shot in 1950. Dae Jung was terrorized in an intentional car accident while campaigning for the 8th general election in 1971. The military court sentenced him to death in 1980. The forces against him continuously threatened him. He has always said that he believes in reconciliation and the forgiveness of one's enemies. After being sentenced to death for his political activism, he wrote a letter to his son, saying, "Only the true, magnanimous, and strong are capable of forgiving and loving. Let us persevere, then praying always that God will help us to have the strength to love and forgive our enemies. Let us together, in this way, become the loving victors." Dae Jung was not like most politicians. He believed in what he promised. Despite having to endure lots of hardships, he was able to be elected as Korea's 15th president, and he went on to practice what he had been trying to get across by forgiving his captors and freeing 2 former presidents shortly after he was elected president. He stood behind his idea of peace and unification. As Korea's 15th president, he was able to bring South Korea back from almost bankruptcy. He did everything he could to help his country. He never sought out revenge for what had been done to him. Dae Jung earned and was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in the year 2000. He was awarded this honor for his work for democracy and human rights in South Korea and in East Asia. Dae Jung's award was also for his work for peace and reconciliation with North Korea. He did speak of what happened to him when he was captured. He did this not to provoke any anger or resentment, but to share his story with his country of hope and faith. Dae Jung spoke of the day he was captured by Korea's Central Intelligence agents. He was forcibly taken aboard a boat, and he was tied up, blinded, and they stuffed his mouth. When he thought he was going to die, he prayed to God to save him, and at that very moment, he says Jesus Christ appeared before him with such clarity that he knew he would be saved. He clung to Jesus, and right then, Japan, Martime's self-defense force, came by way of a plane, and he was rescued. Dae Jung never stopped believing his dream that not even a brutal civil war or 50 years of hostility of competing regimes can keep the Korean people apart. We, as a United States government, never gave Korea money. However, a group by the name of the Hyundai Group did. but that was in return for tremendous rights. Despite all the hardships, Kim Dae Jung kept his optimism and beliefs.